but obviously John Gruden. So your thoughts on sort of everything that's happened since these emails first got leaked, and maybe where you think the story goes from here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's obviously a very complicated story that goes back to the Washington football team investigation, not necessarily the one of Daniel Snyder, but the defamation case that Daniel Snyder made against his former minority owners who he forced or were trying to force him to sell so that they could make a big profit off of the sale of the team. And no coincidence, the Washington Post was putting out those stories, and Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, and he wants to be an NFL owner desperately. So he thought that some malfeasance was going on behind the scenes, and so he started an investigation. And Discovery, all of these emails have now started to come out. Now, I know we're getting a lot of pushback because of the collateral damage only being John Gruden and not anything else that went on with the Washington football team. But the fact that it was John Gruden is telling in a lot of ways. John Gruden, in some ways, became an icon of a generation simply because of his Super Bowl championship with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My brother was on that team, and he speaks highly of John Gruden. Yes, he was off color, and he used language that was insensitive to a lot of people, but his teams loved him. Most of his teams loved him. I know Keyshawn has had issues with him, but at the same time, we've evolved as a society over the last 18 years, 19 years. And if you are the face of an organization, if you are the leader of men and the example for community and for a league at large, like John Gruden was, there's no place for his thoughts in this league. And so Mark Davis and the Raiders did what they had to do. It's unfortunate because it's an enormous black eye on the NFL as in total. And we know that there are other bad players like that in this business, and we, I guess, kind of hope against hope that none of it else comes out. But John Gruden kind of got what he deserved. It's unfortunate because I don't think he's a bad man, but I can't moral license what he's done over the last couple of years, in particular with these emails that are now coming to light.
Tiki, do you think the Players Association is going to get a full written report on the Washington investigation?
No, I don't. I don't think it serves anybody. I'm not exactly sure why this was leaked, and what the agenda necessarily was, and why now it's kind of been shut down. It almost feels intentional, but I can't opine on that. I can't speak to it because I don't know the inside story. I know a little bit of it, but not enough of it to speak publicly about it. So I don't think anything else will come out of this unless some court rules that these emails have to be released. But given that it's a private enterprise, the NFL that is, and they own their own servers, even like a Giants email, it's all NFL server email. They're not compelled without a legal case to do so, and I think most of these other cases have been settled. So we'll see, but I'm not optimistic on that move.
Yeah, I'm not either. And I was saying before, Tiki, I feel for the women who came forward to expose just how deep the misconduct was going in the Washington football team, who went to the Washington Post, who put their names on it in a lot of cases, that they're not going to get the validation that would most likely come from more of those emails getting released.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And let's not forget, Maggie, that investigation was closed, right? It was finished. We know that Daniel Snyder had faced a huge fine. I forget what it was.
$10
not
million
huge for him.
Yeah.
Small for
pocket
him.
change for him, but
exactly. He was not allowed to be the head of the organization. His wife now is, and so it was a minimal charge. But you knew that there was always something else lingering. Like there was always something else that was there. And John Gruden became the collateral damage.
And it bothers me that Goodell never wanted to see the written report there. He only wanted it dictated to him. And it's like that there's not going to be like a record of that. But anyway,
no paper trail.
Yeah, there's just like so many layers to the story. Where it goes next is really interesting. As we said, to the Giants, and about that idea that Saquon Barkley is injury prone, listen, he stepped on somebody's foot and now has an ankle sprain. That's not exactly a soft tissue injury or something like that, Tiki. Is that a fair criticism of Barkley?
I mean, it is because this will be his 18th game missed in the last 4 years. And so you are in the bed that you've made for yourself. And if you're not available, then, your ability doesn't matter. And so I think that Saquon is such a dynamic, unbelievable athlete, but bad things just seem to happen to him, whether it was the high ankle sprain or the knee, which was kind of non-contact. This is just stupid, just walking across the field, really not looking and stepping on somebody's ankle, and all of a sudden it swells up like a cantaloupe. So is he injury prone? Yes, but can you get past that? Of course you can. I mean, I was injury prone early in my career as well, and it worked out well for me. Now I didn't have the mileage that he had early in his career, but still, I'm optimistic he'll be okay. It is just frustrating, and I know this from a fan standpoint. And for him, I mean, forget the fans. I mean, it's frustrating for him. You think Saquon Barkley wants to be sitting on the sideline on the shelf saying I'm not available for my team? Of course not, especially as they're starting to get a little bit better.
And Tiki, the follow-up to that would be this, is we're wasting time here with Barkley, right?
Yeah.
The timeline for an NFL running back in the tread is not all that long.
It's short.
And it really is. And now you're dealing with a guy that's dealing with injuries, and guys coming back from injury. You can't tell me that they're all the way back to where they were when he was at Penn State dealing with all of this, right? So what exactly is Barkley going to be here? Because we're wasting prime years where Barkley should be a difference maker on the field.
Yeah, and the difference, and I'm going to give you an example, but the difference is stark. The Odell Beckham Jr. was in the same situation. He was unbelievable, right? Started his career with record-setting, seasons and performances and, one-handed catches and everything else. And eventually he became a malcontent, and, they needed to push him out. But one of the reasons they did that is because they knew they had to pay him. Like, you get to the point with first round picks where you have to pay him, and it's either the franchise tag or an enormous long-term deal. And if you're not convinced that the health situation is correct or the impact is right, then you move off from them, and it's exacerbated for running backs. The difference, obviously, is that Saquon's not a malcontent, right? He's one of the great leaders in that locker room, and he's a great kid and a great player for them. But the decision on running backs is hard. Because you can't be emotional about it. You almost have to be rote about it. And it's getting to that point where the Giants have to make a decision on what's the long-term future for a guy who's missed a lot of games over his first 4 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, they picked up the 5th-year option, but you're right, because you're watching Ezekiel Elliott on the other side, and that was $50 million guaranteed. Are the Giants ready to shell out something like that to Saquon Barkley? How could you, right now while he's injured? A couple more for you, Tiki, in terms of playing Daniel Jones. Is it as simple as if he passes the concussion protocol, no-brainer, he's going to be, no pun intended there, that he's going to be out on the field? Or do you have to be more careful and calculated with your hopefully franchise quarterback, especially after seeing him staggering and wobbly on the field in Dallas?
Yeah, I felt so bad for him in that moment, because I know what he was thinking. The Cowboys game was getting away from them a little bit, and he just wanted to be available, right? He wanted to get up and shake it off, just like we're taught when we were little kids. Well, not taught that anymore, obviously, but if you don't feel like you're compromised, stay in the football game. If he passes to answer your question directly, if he passes the concussion protocol, I think he should play. And so much of this is about individual tolerance and individual, how their body responds to trauma like that. Some people get a concussion and they're out for 2 weeks, and they don't process correctly, they don't think correctly, and you can tell that they're off. It all depends on the individual. If he feels like he's ready to go, I think they should let him go.
Tiki, defensively here, where we watch this Giant team as they get to take on the Rams. Like, how do you – teams 1-4, now they're dealing with injuries. They're going to get Shepard back here. Defense has not been the backbone. The evaluation here where you've got 12 games to go here in the rest of this regular season.
Yeah, and it's a tough one. One, because of all the injuries. I mean, we're talking Saquon here, but Galladay and Shepard, and the only good thing is that Kadarius Toney, despite the imprudent penalty that he got, has turned into a really good player. right? We knew he needed to take his time and earn his spot, but on Trayvon Diggs last week, I don't know if you guys watched some of that film. He was eating them up.
Couldn't take our eyes off it. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, Diggs is probably the defensive rookie of the year, if not the defensive player of the year through the quarter poll of this season. And Kadarius Toney made him look silly. And so I think there's huge upside offensively, defensively against a Rams squad that has so much talent. And Stafford has evolved into this player in Sean McVay's offense. You're going to end up seeing a lot of zone simply so you don't give up huge plays. And the challenge for Patrick Graham is to create discomfort for Matt Stafford. He's not a runner, so he's not going to scramble and pick up 50 yards on the day. So you had to force him to get the ball out of his hands, but be smart on the back end. I hate to look at this game as a must win because I don't think the Giants are at that spot. But it's almost like they just need to play well enough so that we still believe that they're going in the right direction. For a minute there, we felt like we were going in the right direction, and then the Cowboys' loss was so egregious, even though explainable away because of all the injuries.
Tiki, what do you think this team at the end of the year, 17 games? What do you think this team is win-wise?
I can see 5. Or so. The thing with the Giants is that they're playing everyone tight for the most part, except for the Cowboys. They're playing teams tight. And 2 weeks ago, when we talked about this, it was the Giants just can't. They don't know how to win. Right? They're not bad. They're not a horrible team. Right? They're not a team that's sitting in the basement of a division. They are, but not sitting in the basement of a division with no hope. They're sitting down there, but they have hope, and they're playing well and could have won and should have won certain games. And the only way you get better is to take that little plateau and keep jumping up. I'm being optimistic here because I want to be optimistic. It's really easy to be the other way, to go, be detrimental and I don't know, just feel bad about this team. But I like the talent. Right, and that's why I'm optimistic. I still like Joe Judge a lot. I think Daniel Jones has proven more in these first 5 games than anyone thought he would do. And Tony is there. If Galladay can be healthy, it's just they're a good talent team. They're just not playing well yet.
I know. The other flip side of that coin is that's even more frustrating because they are talented. They did invest in the team, and they're 1-4 to show for it.
You know where that comes from? It's all core. It's core. Like if you don't have the core, and again, this goes back to the Saquon conversation. 2 years from now, if you're going to pay him whatever it is you're going to pay him as a running back, have you done enough to solidify the offensive line and to make it so he's not taking 5 or 6 juke steps in the backfield before he even gets a positive yardage? Like if those things don't happen, then it's almost fruitless to have great talent.
Man, Tiki, thank you so much. Always appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.